Modern and Modernism. When I signed up for this category of modern architecture, I had some conceived notions as to what modern architecture was and where it comes from. I thought I had a clear understanding and in my mind a good grasp on what modern architecture was. But as my research over the semester and class lectures have taught me is that those notions were misguided and incorrect, or at least incomplete. I plan on sharing a very brief summary of what this semester has taught me. First, what is modernism? Modernism is a large, broad concept that can be used to describe attitudes or ideas about architecture, but also art, music, literature, dance, film, lifestyles. Innovation and changes to the standards are a few ways to define modernism. Modernism isn't a style or a type of architecture, but a way of denoting change or modification. I found it interesting as I've started to study what modern architecture is today, or rather how architecture is defined today. I have started to question or search for a better understanding as to what modern architecture is and if it can even be considered a style. To define modern as an adjective of or relating to present or recent times as opposed to the remote past. As a noun, a person who advocates or practices a departure from traditional styles or values. This does not allow for the assumption that this style has only existed for a short time. It instead implies that any deviation from the commonplace might be considered modern. The first example I started to study was the Crystal Palace by Joseph Paxton. This project's use of exposed steel and glass roof panels had not been common for this era. The building is classified as Victorian, but by today's standards or definition could have been classified as modern architecture back then. Contemporary is another word that gets thrown around with modern, but again, contemporary should be considered a synonym for modern as it relates to architecture, defined as belonging or occurring to the present. So what then will be referred to as modern architecture in 100 years from now? Will Zaha Hadid's work still be considered modern as a style, or will there be another term used to define that type of architecture? Corbusier is widely regarded as one of the most important architects of the 20th century. As a gifted architect, writer, urban planner, and painter, Corbusier was able to influence some of the world's most powerful figures, leaving his mark on architecture that can be seen almost in every city worldwide. The Bauhaus had a profound influence upon the development in art, architecture, graphic design, interior design, and industrial design. The school existed under three different architects/directors: Walter Gropius from 1919 to 28, Hans Meyer from 1928 to 1930, and Mies van der Rohe from 1930 to 33, when the school was closed by its own leadership under pressure from the Nazi-led government, which had claimed that this was becoming a center of communist intellectualism. Though the school was closed, the staff continued to spread its ideas as they left Germany and moved all over the world. The Bauhaus had a major impact on art and architecture in Western Europe, the United States, Canada, Israel, and in decades to follow, as a result of being exiled by the Nazi regime. These last few images are some of the work I have been doing over the semester in studio. Some precedent studies, such as the above, are just a few examples that I've taken away from my studies. I've always appreciated modern architecture. I just never understood why until now. I now know that it's because I like recreating or creating new, taking cues from the past but using the present and future innovations to influence or inform design. I've taken what I already knew about the word modern and have tried to push beyond to something undiscovered. It has had an influence on how I view design, and I am encouraged to continue to push the boundaries and find new and inventive ways of producing art and architecture in my own career. To quote Leduc, "I have a great fear of all definitive theories in the arts which are framed in an exclusive manner," he wrote, "because if aesthetics become nothing more than the execution of an over-reasoned formula, it will mark the death of imagination and spontaneity, and even of the incorrect, which are not to be disdained in human creations." Thank you for listening.